I started keeping bees in about 1980. Kept them in what they call the Langsdorff hive, which is the white square. Kept them in that for several years, and then I found these, and it was like, why am I doing the Langsdorff? I still have some of them. I sell hives, and I have people that want to buy them, so I keep both. How many beekeepers are in here now? You're going to be, but is anybody beekeeper yet or anything? Okay. The thing with I'll explain the differences in the hive. The white Langsdorff hive, they are a commercial bee hive. They're the white boxes you see in people's yards. Basically, you have, hi neighbor. Basically, the bees in the Langsdorff hive, they work from the bottom up. So if you have 3 boxes of on a hive setting out there, the bottom part of the hive is usually the brood, which is where the babies are at. The reason they are in the bottom is because that's where the food's coming in, and that's where they can better regulate the temperature of the hive. So the brood is at the bottom, and as they fill the brood chamber and work their way up, the honey stores and stuff, it works up. You just see them adding more boxes on it. They work very well. They work very well. They're a good hive. For a commercial beekeeper, that's what they were designed for. For the problem with those is if you want to look at your brood chamber, you have to completely dismantle the whole hive every time you get in it. So you take the top off the hive, you've exposed the whole roof, and every bee in there can look up and see the sky. And then you look through that one, then you take that one off. They glue things together with propolis. So you have to pry the boxes apart. You set it off. Now you've got a top, a bottom, and a top open. You got more bees. You go through it. You do the next box. Now you've got 1, 2, 3 tops open, 2 bottoms. By the time you go through that, you've got bees everywhere, and they aren't happy. So that is the problem that I have with the Langsdorff. Plus they're heavy. The boxes can weigh 60, 70 pounds. So they're heavy. This is what is called the top bar, and I'll show you what I call the magic of the top bar here shortly. These were designed in the early 60s by the Peace Corps. The Peace Corps was working with the natives in Africa, and the natives were keeping their hives and skips and logs and such. To harvest their honey, they had to destroy the colony. So the Peace Corps some genius come up with this idea of the top bar hive. You do not need any special equipment or tools to keep the bees. Names for these are the Kenya top bar or the Tanzanian top bar. So I did not invent this, but if the top bar is a song, this is just my rendition of it. Where on the Langsdorff hive, you have to come out and you have to beat and open the top of the hive up. With this, you walk out and you open the hive. What you see is this. The bees cannot come out, or they don't even know you're there. It's like lifting the roof off of your house. You still have the ceiling. So if I want to pull some bars out with this, with the Langsdorff, they go from the bottom up. With the top bar, they go from the front back. So if I want to come out here and look at my brood, instead of having to unstack the whole box, I pull out a bar. This is what it would look like. I'll pass these around here in a second. All I give the bees is a wax starter strip in this groove. And this is what they do. There's a wax moth. That's not a good, that's a pest. They will eat this stuff. So all I'm asking the bees with the Landsdorf, they put a foundation in there and they tell the bees, this is what I want you to make and this is where I want you to make it. It has a cell pattern on it. This does not. This is Mother Nature's way of, if you want to pass that around, that's Mother Nature's way that they do it. If you look, there are different sizes of cells on the hive, on each comb. On this one here, if you look on the side, on the edges of it, there are queen cells. As you get to that, that's where they will make queens to replace their existing queen. But with this, like I say, all I tell them, and you can pass this one too if you want, is I ask them, is I give them this bar. This is what it's called a top bar. This is what the hive gets its name from. All I ask them is please make this comb in this groove. You make what you want, but please make it in that groove. Sometimes they don't even listen to me. They build crossways and stuff in here, which is normal for anything. With the top bar, like I said, all I have to do if I want to come out here is just pull up a bar. All I have open is 1.5 inches of the hive. The rest of the hive is closed up. It's so much more user-friendly. So it's all handy. It's right here at the right height. I'm not picking up 70, 50, 60, 70 pounds. That full of honey is about maybe 15 pounds. Here you go, take it.
Oh, wow.
Of comb will hold about 7 pounds of wax. So 1/10 of an ounce of beeswax comb will hold that much. It's incredibly strong. It's the structure. The other thing nice about this, it's like a tool, it's like a workbench. When I'm out here working on my hives, I can use it, set my stuff up on it, my tools, I can work on it this way. So this is just a lot more user-friendly in my book. I do not need any special tools. I use a bread knife. This is my tool kit. This is all I use to get in my hive. I don't even need the hive tools to pry and beat things apart with. Thank you. If you see on this is what they call the propolis. If you look at this stuff is just incredibly, they make it out of sap and it is incredibly tough. That's what they glue and stick everything together with. So that's part of it. And you're all welcome to come up here and look at this when we're finished. With the top bar, like I said, I do not need any special tools. I have gone through as many as 7 hives in one day with a pair of shorts, t-shirt, and I wear a hat. And then I will stick this in my back pocket. This is nothing more than a mosquito veil. Honeybees like shiny. So they have learned that if a bear or a raccoon or something is attacking their hive, that they're not going to try to go through the hair. They'll go for the shiny, the eyes, nose, lips. So they're the same with us. They're not going to try to go through the shirt and stuff unless they have to. So I keep this in my pocket. If I get in there and do something stupid like drop a bar of bees, I'm going to yank this out of my pocket and pull it over my head. I can take a shot or two in the arm. I don't like them in the lips and the eyelids. If you do get stung, never reach up and pinch and pull the stinger out. If you look, that stinger, if she pulls it out, it's sitting on your arm or your hand. It's doing this. It's just convulsing, and that's pumping that venom into your system. So when you reach down there and squeeze that to pull it off, all you're doing is injecting yourself with it. Scrape it. Use your fingernail, pocket knife, anything. Just scrape it. I've had them hit me on the hand and they're still trying to pull away their stinger. Just scrape it off and let her have it. So, scrape, never pick. Good advice. Anyway, and the reason is I am not disrupting the whole hive. I tell people bees are a lot like people. If I come to your home and I knock on the front door and we talk like a gentleman and lady or gentleman and gentleman, you probably don't have a problem. If I come to your house and I take the roof off and I start tearing the banging stuff up, you're probably going to have a problem with it. So that's the difference. You're not disrupting the pattern and the continuity of the hive. I'll cover this on swarms. People have seen swarms. I'm sure you all have on fenders of cars, shrubbery, fence posts. Bees at that point right there are as docile as they will ever be. They are wet, and what I mean by that is they will, before they leave the colony with the existing queen and leave behind a queen in a cell in the egg from the larvae form, they drink all the honey that they can drink before they leave. That way they have the reserves to until they get a home built. So they are big and they're thick, and their stingers cannot stick out very far. They can sting you, but they cannot sting you very deep. So it's a real shallow, mild sting. Their stings are mild. The reason they are so docile is I use the people thing again. They do not have anything to defend. So if you and your family are out eating and you go to the mall and go out and watch a movie and some trouble starts over here, 2 or 3 guys start trouble over here, you may not like it, but it's, the police will take care of it. I'm going to let them worry about it. You don't have anything to defend. If those 2 or 3 guys show up on your front porch at 2 o'clock this morning, you're going to have a different attitude about it. And that's the way they are when they're in the hive. They have something to defend. So that's when you see a swarm of bees out on a tree somewhere, they're not going to bother you. I have a video. You can go on my webpage and see it. It shows me catching swarms. I won't say I don't wear anything. I wear shorts and t-shirt or clothes and stuff. I don't wear any protective gear. There are several things on this that I can do almost anything with this hive that they can do with the Lanthorf hive. The Lanthorf will never be replaced. Those are for commercial beekeepers. And the reason they're so popular too is that's all there was. So if you wanted to keep bees in your backyard, you got a white Lanthorf hive. That's what was out there. And when I found this, it was just like, wow, this is a big difference. This will never replace the Lanthorf. You can't put 2,000 of these on a semi and take them to California to the almond groves. They won't fit. This is for the backyard beekeeper. Somebody like us wants to keep a few bees in the backyard, have some honey in the pantry, and get your garden pollinated. So with that being said, you introduce your bees to this, and it's very easy. You can buy what's called a 2 or 3 pound package. They come in a box, and basically, I won't get into all the details on it, but you shake them in here. I spray them with sugar water and shake them in there. They kind of go in like raisins once they've been sprayed with the sugar water. They don't do a lot of flying. Close the hive up, and I use a syrup feeder when I introduce a new swarm of bees. This is the syrup feeder. It holds approximately 1 gallon of syrup. You feed the bees 50-50 by weight, sugar, water, when you introduce the colony in the spring. So you put 2 pounds of sugar to a quart of water. Put that in here. I fill this full of sticks, a lot of sticks. That way I'm not creating a drowning pool. So it fills at the top. You don't have to, I call it no sting feeding. So when you walk out, that's what you see is this right there. You just see the top of the box with this. You can feed them here. The reason you want to use 50-50 is they will make comb with that. They will make wax. The wax comes off of their glands in their stomach, and it comes off, looks like a little tiny fish scale. And if you pull out a bar or frame and they are building comb on it. It will look like, it's called bearding, and that's exactly what it looks like. They're just hanging leg to leg on here, and they are taking this wax off their gland and they pass it up. And the ones at the top attach it to make the comb. They build the comb down. So they will make wax with that 50-50 mix, and they will also feed the babies with that 50-50 mix. Sugar, water, or honey is the carbohydrates for the bees. Pollen is the protein. A strong hive will consume about 60 pounds of pollen a year. It's an amazing amount of pollen. So with this, I feed them 50-50 in the spring. Depending on how the hive does in the summer, if it's been a good year, if it's been a bad year, if they don't have what I figure is enough honey to get through, I like to have about 10 bars of honey. I will feed them when it starts getting cool. I feed them a 2-to-1 mixture. You can put 16 pounds of water or sugar in a gallon of water. It's thick. The reason you use that mixture is they do not have to process the water out of it. They will store it like honey in their cells so that it doesn't take as much processing for them. Moisture is a problem with honeybees in the winter. If this is a strong colony in here, and let's say there's 8 pounds of honeybees, 4,000 bees to the pound, there's 8 pounds of honeybees in here. It's like putting an 8-pound wiener dog in here. Bees breathe. It's called bee breath. They exhale moisture just like we do. So if you put an 8-pound wiener dog in here at 0, there's going to be condensation. It's like you're sitting in your car in cold weather without the engine running. So the moisture, lower moisture of the 2-to-1 helps there. When the nights get to be where they are at freezing, this comes out. Well, I'm thinking of, this is the back of the hive as far as the bees are concerned. When this is in there, this is as far as they can go. As the colony grows, all I have to do, with the Langstroth, you have to put a whole new box on top. With this, I pull this out a little bit, and I can put another bar or 2 in here and give them room as they need it. So I have more control over what's going on. So the winter starts getting cold at night, this comes out. I don't want moisture in the hive. That's where I come up with this little invention. This is my cold weather feeder. I will take this and I'll put a single sheet of newspaper on this side of the screen. I mix regular tape, always use table sugar. Don't use corn syrup, don't use anything, just plain sugar. I will mix my sugar, about 1/2 cup of water to 5 pounds of sugar. All I wanted is like wet sand. I'm going to pack this in here, fill it up, and scrape it off like you're pouring concrete. Let it set for 2 or 3, 4 days. What's your sugar do in the pantry when it's damp? It's hard. So it's going to set up hard. Close it up. Back of the hive again. Drop it in. Now, I've done 2 things. First off, I've given 10 pounds or almost 10 pounds of sugar as an emergency food supply. The second thing I've done is I have put a sponge in there for the moisture. That sugar is going to suck up any excess moisture that those bees generate. All my hives have an observation window on them. I've gone in there and the grandkids love it, the neighbor kids love it, anybody that visits loves it. It's useful to me. I can look in the hive and tell what's going on. I can look in there at 0, and I've never seen moisture on the inside of that hive. Speaking of winter, the University of, I believe it was Iowa, done a study several years ago. They took a Langstroth hive, They put it in a freezer at 30 degrees below zero. Put all kinds of temperature sensors around this thing. When it starts getting into the mid 50s, bees cluster. They'll get into a tight ball. And it can be 3 or 4 bars of wax white. So it's not in between just one, it's through there. They're heating it. Inside of that hive was 30 below zero. The inside of that cluster was 95 degrees. The outside of the cluster was about 92 degrees. They exercise, they run their flight muscles to generate heat. So that's the way they survive winter. Cold bees are live bees, wet bees are dead bees. They're no different than you are. You're out here at zero and somebody throws a bucket of water on you, you're going to get in trouble in a hurry. So they have to be dry. So with this in there, I'm keeping them dry, and I've given them an emergency food supply. They will not eat this unless they have to. So their first choice is honey. It is made so the queen cannot get through it. The worker bees can. So it would be used if I wanted to have honey without babies or eggs in it. I would put this in there. So I would give her about the first 12 bars or so, just like you would on the Langstroth, which is 10 bars. Then I would put this in. She can't get through that. Then I would put my honey bars, the ones I want honey in, behind that. So the food's coming in, we're taking care of the babies. Any excess, the bees are going through here and they're putting the honey in my frames. That way when I pull my honey bars out or honey frames, I don't have to worry about babies and brood and stuff in it. It just kind of helps make it a little cleaner. The bees need temperature fluctuation in the hive in order to survive the winter. As I was saying, bees cluster, and they will remain in that cluster until it warms up. They can come out in the upper 30s for a short run. So if you got snow on the ground and you go out and you see dead bees on the snow, that's a good thing, because you got live bees in there throwing the dead ones out. They're good housekeepers. You will also see little brown streaks in the snow. They will not go to the bathroom in the hive. They will hold it. So at 35, 40 degrees, they can't survive long. They'll come out, do a U-turn, and go right back in. So they have to be able to break the cluster to do that, to do their cleansing flights. They also may be able to break the cluster to go retrieve honey and bring it back to the cluster to maintain it there. So if I take this hive and it's in my backyard and I think I'm going to keep these bees warm, and I get bales of straw and I stack all around it and under it and on top of it, I just leave them a little hole to get out here. Bees don't heat their home like we heat our home. They heat the home like if you are home with the kids and the grandkids and the power goes off, you get in bed and cover up. That's the way they heat the home. So I've got this all covered up with straw and they're all nice and snug in there. And it's been zero for a week, 10 days. And it warms up today to 40 degrees. It's still zero inside that hive. They cannot break the cluster to go cleanse. They cannot break the cluster to go eat. They're going to stay in that pile right there and starve to death. So they have to have that temperature fluctuation. As it warms up outside, it needs to warm up in the hive so they know to go do their business. In a tree, in the side of a house, they built on the outside of the insulation, right?
Inside, well, between the insulation and the drywall.
Okay, so they don't need the heat. That's where the space was. That's why they built there. But generally, they will build on the outside of a structure like that, the outside walls and stuff. So don't insulate them. Let the temperature take care of it. Ants, ants get in these hives. I've opened them up and there'll be a whole colony of ants built on top of it. A lot of guys will put cinnamon on it and different things they put the legs in pans with oil and stuff in to keep the ants out. I don't mind the ants. I figure if they're in a tree, there's going to be ants in there with them. I figure the ants help take care of the pests, small hive beetles, the moths that I just killed, that type of stuff. If they're on there, they're not as likely to be in there with the bees. So the main thing you have to remember if you're keeping bees are beekeepers need bees. Bees don't need beekeepers. So don't try to overthink it. Give them their room, let them go, and they'll do fine.
You might have missed, Greg, but the bees do come out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi.
They come out. There's holes on the entrance
yeah,
here.
I came in late.
Yeah. And if you come up here and look a little bit, you're all welcome to. Yeah. I have 1/2-inch hardware cloth over the ends of the holes. That keeps the mice out. Mice love beehives in the winter. And there's nothing more disgusting than going out and opening your hive up in the spring. There'd be a mouse nest, and the bees tolerate it better than I would think they would. So I put mouse guards on them, and I've not had problems.
So I got a lot of bees in my yard.
I bet you do.
So
she lives 2 houses south of me.
So I appreciate that I'm getting all kinds of good vegetables from it. But that's what
Are they in your bird bath?
I haven't noticed them there.
I'm sure they are.
But
bees drink a lot of water. That's what they cool the hive with.
Well, I have a hard time keeping that because I think that platter anyway leaks anyway. So.
Any other questions?
So if we have bees and we don't want bees, who do we just call you, or who do we call?
You can. I collect a lot of swarms. The problem he's having in the wall, there are some guys that will do that. That's a task. I mean, you have to basically cut the side of the house open to get them out. Some people spray them, which destroys the colony, which I don't like. The problem you have then, if you've got a bunch of brood and honey in there, then you're going to get a decay and pest problems from that, where it's not a very pretty sight then. It comes through the drywall and runs down the wall and everything.
We live out towards the river bottoms, and it's probably a mile in any direction before there's any crops other than the little garden we put out. Will they get enough out there?
Yes.
Okay.
Without the crops are not a good thing.
Okay.
So if you go down here south of town where it's like I call it the prairie, I think everybody calls it that, and I'll just use Iowa for example. You see the picture, there's just miles of cornfields, and there's a house sitting in the middle of it. You might as well put them bees on a desert island. The corn and soybeans won't do them any good.
Okay.
So they're going to starve to death. Woods in town, it's perfect.
Okay.
It's perfect. You can't put enough. If it's that far from if you got woods and stuff like that, you can't put enough beehives on your property to
Okay.
hurt anything.
All right.
What's your thoughts on like the long Landstreth versus the
This
the top
is
bar?
okay. This has about the same volume as a 3-box Langthorpe. They have 30 bars, 10 bars per box. This has 28. The top bars are the same dimension as the Langthorpe frame. It's 19 inches long and 1.5 inches on center. So this is a little deeper this way, but the sides are sloped. So it's real close to a 3.
The long Landstreths, they do them
Right.
horizontal versus.
This is they call them a coffin hive.
Mhm.
That's my next plan. I'm working on making some of them up. But
Because I like the idea of using the frames just like the Landstreths, but then put it in
yeah,
the.
you can do that.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is nature's way of doing it. it. I'm not gonna try to figure her out or read. I'll show you a few things here on this real quick. If you look, there are different size cells on this. This is your worker cell, the smaller one. This is drones. There's 3 types of bees in the hive. There's the queen, which these are the queen cells that are made on, see them hanging on the side here.
Okay.
This is where they would replace the queen. Some of them are emergencies, and I'll get into that here in a second. This is the drone cell. There's 3 types. There's the queen, there's the drones, which are the males, and there are the worker bees. They're all female. All the honeybees you see out flying around in your yard and on your flowers are females. It's a pretty good gig for the men for a while. They don't do anything in the hive but eat, and they cannot feed themselves, so they are being fed. Their only job is to mate with the queen. Their eyes are huge, and that is for the reason of finding the queen when she's on her maiden flight. And then the workers, when they first hatch, their first job in the hive is to be nurse bees. They go around and they take care of the babies. We think that we are great parents. They will visit that baby 1,300 times a day. They will keep that cell, these babies, 95 degrees. I don't care if it's 40 degrees outside, those babies are 95 degrees. They're good parents. After they are nurse bees for a while, they graduate to field bees, and that's where they go out and do the field. In the field, they're going to live maybe 5 or 6 weeks. They don't live very long. You lose about 300 bees a day out of a hive, just normal attrition. So with the men, the boys, they only job in the hive is to eat. They mate with the female. The male dies after he mates with the female. I won't get into the details. It's not a very pretty divorce. So with the queen cell, they will make these. Some of these look like probably more of an emergency cell to me. And what they will do is they will make these just in case. So if something happens to the female, they can run up and grab a brand new egg and put it in one of these cells and make it a queen. So they can make any egg a queen just by feeding it royal jelly. So these are emergencies. A lot of times the superseed cells, they're hanging more in the middle and stuff. So these are communication holes at the top. Bees put those in here. They're smart enough to know instead of going around, it's easier to go through. They are awesome engineers. So they're again, they're so much better at it than I am. I have not been getting much this year. I've been doing bees. I've been making hives up and selling hives with bees in them. So I've been vacuuming bees out of my hives to do it that way and not leaving a whole lot of them to make honey.
And do you make these
I do.
yourself?
I
Okay.
do.
Is that what your wood shop is?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, build a new wood shop, so.
Okay.
Royal Jelly, what is it? You see it as a supplement in the vitamin shops.
I can't tell you what all's in it. It's
Okay.
I'll tell you what, it's what they make queens with.
There you go.
I can't tell you what's in it.
All right.
It's
I suppose it's only in those little bitties.
yeah,
What did you
it's
sell
yeah. And I'd say it's probably pretty diluted too when you.
I would suspect,
When you-
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I saw something when I was looking at trying to build something like this, that actually had a tap. So you
Yeah, it's called
didn't have to-
flow hive.
Okay.
Flow hive. I don't know much about them. I don't know what to tell you on them.
Okay.
I-
But
I-
there is such a thing.
There is
I
a thing
wasn't-
called a flow hive. They're expensive. And basically some way you pull a lever and it breaks the cells open inside the hive, and the honey runs out and runs out.
Okay.
You spigot and you do
Like,
it
yeah,
that way.
it looked like a little tap.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it's
I,
nice,
you know,
yeah.
I don't know how they work or how well they work or anything about them.
Okay,
I'd say they're more of a novelty than they are
Okay.
anything else,
fairly
would be my
new.
guess, yeah.
What size of a hardware cloth do you use?
I use 1/8" hardware cloth on the bottom. I didn't cover that. All my hives have screen bottoms. That is for a passive varroa mite. Varroa mites are a parasite that lives on the bee. It would be like you're going home and your Labrador retriever having a tick on it this big. They're hard on the bees. So I put a screen bottom in mine. The varroa mite falls off, it falls through the screen on the ground. They will not get back on that way. It's just a passive way to do it. I dropped it here. I use a sticky board. I call it a sticky board. Where I can slide this in and out. I put it in cold weather. It keeps the wind and stuff out. I can also spray it with Pam. You can rub Vaseline, something on there, make it sticky. I put it underneath there, and then I can do a mite count, and there's a formula, and I can't tell you exactly what it is offhand. You put it in there for 3 days, and you count the mites, and if it's over this number, you treat. If it's under this number, you don't, and I can't tell you offhand what it is. So it's used for different things. It's used to keep the wind and the cold out, and it's used for counting.
Do they get many diseases or problems?
They do, and there's several of them. The varroa mite causes a lot of it. It drags the bee down, it weakens the bee, so they're more susceptible to different diseases and other parasites. Wax moths are a problem with them. That's what I just killed there. They will get onto the comb that is not being attended, and they eat it up. Their larvae do. That looks like maggots in there. A strong colony will take care of itself. They don't have to have that. Another pest in there is small hive beetles. Just a little bitty black, looks like a little black VW bug, and that's another parasite. Again, a strong colony will keep them under control. As long as the hive is strong, got good numbers, good healthy bees, they can take care of themselves.
Okay, say you have one hive like that, and you've gone through your spring, bloom and whatnot, and you're putting your cells in, or your top bars in to get your honey, and you don't want to take too much away. How much do you think would get from like a hive that size, if it's a good spring and there's no...
How much will I take out of it?
Yeah, like how much honey can you kind
You
of
can
expect?
get 5 or 6 gallons out of them.
Okay.
Yeah, 13 pounds to the gallon, so you can,
Okay.
yeah.
I just didn't know what to expect.
Yeah,
as far
you're
as
not gonna
your
get
hive.
quite as much out of these as you will a Langsdorff,
Okay.
but it's just, I'm not in it to
No,
the honey
yeah.
production, so.
And I didn't want to take so much away that you're
I
not.
try to leave them about 8 or 10 bars,
Yeah.
and I always put this sugar feeder in. I mean, 10 pounds of sugar cost me $5. I don't wanna go out there and there's nothing, you go out there and in the spring, you pull your bars out, and all you see are bees, their bottoms sticking out of this. And it's where they've died, and they're trying to get the last morsel of honey out of the comb. They just sit there and starve to death right in there. I don't want that. So for $5, I'll put 10 pounds of sugar. And the nice thing about this also, I can go out there in the winter, it's been a cold, hard winter or whatever, I can crack this open that easy and look and see if they need more food. Or if you have the Langsdorff, if you have to take the whole top off, you've exposed the whole hive to that temperature.
Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, just pull it open that far, look at it, and close it back, so I can tell.
I've seen some of the top bars that have kind of almost like a wool top that you lay over top.
Yeah. There again,
Is it
don't
insulated
insulate it,
too
yeah.
much and?
They make a they used to do they still do, it's called a candy board. And basically it's an emergency food supply like this, but they cook the sugar until it becomes hardball. And so when it cools, it sets up like a jawbreaker. And that's what I used to use. And then it was like, well, that's gonna do sitting there and sweat. So I got to trying the sugar and it worked real well. So I use it on my Langsters too. I use the dry sugar. I've made a frame and with a hardware cloth bottom, 1/2 inch, and put newspaper, and I use that moisture control for them too. Appreciate it. And you're all welcome to come up and take a look.
So you're selling these?
Yes, ma'am.
And, how many do you have in your yard?
I hate to tell you this, being my neighbor, but I had 17 hives in my yard, and you don't even know it's not that
No,
bad.
they haven't,
No,
I'm
no.
getting bit by spiders more than I
Yeah,
have.
no, I had 17 hives, and like I said, I'm selling the hives with the bees, and I am down to 3 that I've got left to sell.
Well,
So, yeah, it's,
yeah.
yeah, I sell the hive as a kit, I sell it assembled, and I sell it with bees.
Well, the bees haven't bothered me at all. They've been
It's
wonderful.
good pollination.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We had a bee tree not too far from us in the woods, and it fell over, and they died. And now I'm having to take a paintbrush and go.
Yeah, the problem with the, when the people think you can just go in there and get them after that, when that tree hits, I mean, all that weight just goes into a pile.
Yeah,
You know,
they died.
Yeah, it just,
Yeah.
it's not pretty.
Actually, I went over there and poked around, but there wasn't nothing.
Yeah.
How far will they go to get forage? or-
They are no different than we are. They won't go any farther than they have to.
Okay,
But they'll go 3 miles if they have to.
okay. And, I think I'll get
Oh,
some.
with the woods and the flowers and stuff you got, yeah, you wouldn't have to have.
We live out there where the old landfill used to be, out that area.
Towards the river.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
All right.
Okay. Thank you so much. Like I said, you're more than welcome to come up and look.
Do you have a card or anything, a phone number?
I do.
Because we can leave next
I never
spring.
thought to bring any other than what I normally carry.
So you
My
can,
phone's in
you
here. I
can
can
eventually
stick it
fill
in.
this whole thing up.
Yeah, like I said, it just works its way back.
We didn't think about it.